Hello everyone, this is Mike with Milestone 20, coming to you with another video from the Travelers of the Multiverse UA. As I mentioned before, I have decided to release these videos showing how I've done my homebrew based on the Spelljammer Academy that dropped today. The last race we have to cover is the Thri-kreen, and so we'll go ahead and cover that. If you'd like access to this homebrew, unfortunately I can't publish it on D&D Beyond because it is not my content. It is Wizards of the Coast content. So what I will do is I've created a campaign that I can give links to. I'll leave that in the description below. And if you like, you can join that campaign and feel free to create a character with whichever UA race. Once you've created your character, if you'd like to stay in the campaign, that's great. If you'd like to leave, that's fine. If you do stay in the campaign, you can I'll add more links for the other races, and you'll be able to add that homebrew. You'll be able to add my homebrew to your homebrew collection. If you do leave the campaign, you won't be able to access that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the Thri-kreen. So, scroll up here. We've got a brief description here. The Thri-kreen is a 6-limbed telepathic insectoid. One thing to note, as I've stated in all the other videos, these character creation basics that have been released from Wizards of the Coast are based on the Monsters of the Multiverse base race traits, and they also kind of go back to where kind of all started back in with Tasha's, with the ability to set your ability scores based on whatever you want, instead of just the races having specific ability score increases. That's gone into now in the Monsters of the Multiverse. They have a very set base for every race, has the same way of doing things, and one piece of that is the ability score increases. As I mentioned before, this started in Tasha's. So this one is you can increase. There's two methods: increase one score by 2 and increase a different score by 1, or the second method is increase 3 scores by 1. Either way, it gives you a net 3 bonus to your ability scores. You can speak, read, and write Common and one other language of your choice. Your creature type, so far we've, and I'm not sure what the Thri-kreen is, to be honest with you. So far, pretty much everything's been humanoid, with the exception of the Plasmoid, which is an ooze, and the Autognome, which is a construct. I'm kind of thinking that the Thri-kreen, I don't know, could be something different, could still be humanoid. Lifespan, unless basically states unless it's called out in the description of the race, your lifespan is about a century. Height and weight, you can set your height and weight based on range. If you like to consult the random height and weight table in the player's handbook, and you can choose something that represents the build that you imagine for your character. So those are the basic character creation pieces. We're going to scroll all the way down to the Thri-kreen. And Thri-kreen is pretty big, so we're going to start here. They have insectile features and 2 pairs of arms. Their bodies are encased in protective chitin. They can alter the coloration of this carapace to blend in with their natural surroundings. Although the Thri-kreen don't sleep, they require periods of inactivity to revitalize themselves. During these periods, they are fully conscious and aware of what's happening around them. Thri-kreen speak by clacking their mandibles and waving their antennae. Yeah. Indicating to other Thri-kreen what they are thinking and feeling. Other creatures find this method of communication difficult to interpret and impossible to duplicate. To interact with other folk, Thri-kreen rely on a form of telepathy. So again, that doesn't change the method of speaking. The method of speaking is still telepathy. The languages, it does say speak, read, and write. In this way, you're speaking and listening would be telepathic. Okay, so, and we'll just take a look, scroll down here so you can see the whole Thri-kreen traits. You see I have that whole description here. There is not anything calling out in the description of how old they are or how old they get. So going back to that default, it should be somewhere around 100 years lifespan. This is the year, again, what I said, the basics of creating a character will be in here. So let's get into these traits. So you have the following traits. You have, well, that's interesting. I might have to look at how this one's set up. Dark vision should be lower. Okay, and you'll see this is kind of where that order comes in as I go in to edit this. But so creature type, you are a monstrosity. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. I kind of didn't think they'd just be straight humanoid. So yeah, they are a monstrosity. Size, you are medium or small. Again, with the medium or small, as I've shown in both the Plasmoid and the Hadozee. This is something that we had to copy over from the Herongon to get the actual homebrew mechanic to work. I will identify that and as we go through. Your speed is a walking speed of 30 feet. Chameleon Carapace. We talked about this earlier, but very similar to the Autognome, you have a base armor class of 13 plus your dex. And as an action, you have the change color of your carapace to match the color and texture of your surrounding, giving you advantage on dexterity stealth checks made to hide in these surroundings. Secondary arms, you have 2 slightly smaller secondary arms below your primary pair of arms. The secondary arms function like your primary arms with the following exceptions. Now, keep in mind these are secondary arms, so they're not as strong as the primary set of arms. You can use them to wield a weapon that has the light property, but you can't use a secondary arm to wield other kinds of weapons. And you can't wield a shield with a secondary arm. So, that being said, you could hold a shield with your primary arm and get the benefit of a shield. And you can also hold, say, a short sword and a hand crossbow. And then you still have an arm free to help you reload, or you have an arm free to help you do some sort of spell casting movements. So, okay, so Sleepless Revitalization. You do not require sleep and can choose to remain conscious during a long rest, though you must still refrain from strenuous activity. And then the Thri-kreen Telepathy. You have the magical ability to communicate mentally with any number of willing creatures. Nope, I've got to fix a typo there. You can see... Yeah, okay. You can see within 120 feet of you. A contacted creature doesn't need to share a language with you, but it must be able to understand at least one language. Your telepathic link to a creature is broken if you and the character move more than 120 feet apart, if either of you is incapacitated, or if either of you mentally break the contact. No action required. So, obviously there's a couple things I need to fix. And you see the dark vision is out of order. So, knowing that let's see, so 3, 4, 5, 6. Dark vision should be 7. I might have to do some fixing here while we go through. Okay, so let's take a look here at building this homebrew. Yeah, you see again our basic information, the name, version, medium or small, and again this is not the mechanic that lets you choose medium or small. This is just a default. This is just a way to set in here what your size actually is. Speed is walking speed is 30 feet. We have that whole big Thri-kreen description here. And then we have the creating your character section there. Okay. So first piece is the ability score increase. And we've covered this a little bit before. Basic text for choosing 3 scores by 1, or 1 score by 2 and another by 1. The options down here allow us to have this text in here that says increase them by 1. And if we go in the modifiers for the option, we see choose an ability score to increase by 1. We'll take a look at the modifier. And again, modifier type is bonus, and modifier subtype is increased by 1, and fixed value is 1. So all 3 of those are the same. So if we go into the increase 2 scores instead of 3, again, the text is covering those changes. And modifiers here, we've already gone over by increasing a score by 1. So we'll look at the increasing the score by 2, which is modifier type bonus. Choose an ability score to increase by 2. And then fixed value of 2. Okay, done with the ability scores. Now we'll go to the language. Again, standard text. Character can choose to speak, read, and write Common and one other language. Again, I keep skipping this, but you and your DM should agree on what is appropriate for your character, and not only that, but your DM might actually help you into what will work best in the campaign setting that you're in. I mean, there's no reason to pick Draconic if you never use it, but Abyssal would work. They might ask you to come up with a reason why you would have Abyssal instead. Anyway, Okay, so the display order is 2. And we have our modifiers here. So language type, and we set it to common. And in this one, we have our language type when we set it to choose a language. Okay. Now, what should be speed is there. I'm going to go see if we can pick. Let's see, this is 3, 5, 6, 7. Dark vision should have been set to 7. Ah, that's why it doesn't have a display order. Okay. We're gonna go over dark vision out of order because I needed to fix it. So you see dark vision up to 60 feet. You can see in dim light within 60 feet. If you were bright light, standard dark vision. Our modifier here, set base, dark vision, 60 feet. So our modifier set base, modifier subtype is dark vision, and our fixed value is 60. Okay, so since we made a change, I'm going to head and save this one. Now, let's see. Ah, dark vision shows up where it should now. Good. Okay. Okay, so we need creature type. You are a monstrosity. So again, this is more of a calling out and a flavor type thing. It's not being used as a mechanic piece. So there are no modifiers or options or actions or whatnot. Size. Now, this is what we were talking about before, to where you're medium or small. So if you don't grab this, and the only one that I'm aware of off the top of my head that has this, to create a race, a homebrew race from a pre-existing one, and I could be wrong. I mean, I know the Haragon has it. There might be others. I just went with a Haragon when I made it. As a matter of fact, what I ended up doing initially was I made a template that had this in it. That was just the basic stuff up front, and then I built everything from the template. So I built the template from the Haragon, and then I built everything else from the Haragon template. From the template I made. So key point here is this modifier. So we have modifier type is size. So we choose the size modifier. And then the problem you have if you don't bring it over from the Haragon, you don't get an option for choose a character size. You get the list of all the sizes. You don't get this option. So, and as I've mentioned before in other videos, for the other races, maybe D&D Beyond is working on fixing this. Maybe this will be part of a patch in the homebrew at some point in time. But for right now, the way to get this racial trait to choose your size is that way. And of course, you do realize this is tied into that other piece that's on the basic, which is medium or small. So, okay, so we're good here. And what I was talking about, that basic trait is sorry, up here. See, we set that modifier as choose your race, or sorry, choose your size, and then we're saying the options are medium or small. Okay, so now speed. Speed is the mechanic of actually showing the speed is up in that basic information again. This is just text based, showing it in the sheet, showing it as part of the character builder and whatnot. So yeah, the actual mechanic is here in the basic information of 30 speed, 30 walking speed. Okay, so Chameleon Carapace. Now this one had a little bit to it here, building it up, in that you had to build that base unarmored AC. So we go over and we have some description here. Again, this is the snippet is what shows up in the character sheet. The description is what shows up in the flyout menu from the side. So while you aren't wearing armor, this carapace gives you a base armor class of, and I calculate that value for you based on your dexterity score. So it's 13 plus your dex mod. And as an action, you can change the color of your carapace to match the color and texture of your surroundings, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throw. Or sorry, dexterity stealth checks. If we take a look at our modifiers, we have our set armor class. And so we're setting our unarmored armor class and a fixed value of 3. And that 3 basically adds onto the base of your base armor class is always 10. You get the fixed value of 3 from the unarmored bonus, and then dex on top of that. So now here is something I called out here, and I could have done something a little bit differently with the Plasmoid in this respect. We could have done this if we wanted to, added some details, and maybe that would help. Maybe we could go back to the Plasmoid and say, you know, advantage on if you're grappling, advantage strength if you're grappling, and advantage dex if grappling. Basically what I've done is use the advantage type of modifier. Modifier type is this stealth skill, and then I've said advantage if carapace. Whoa. Advantage if carapace color matches surroundings. So we covered dark vision already. We'll go to secondary arms. Okay, and again, this is there's not a mechanic, there's not bonuses and actions and options and modifiers to go along with this. This is just text-based. So you have 2 slightly smaller arms and secondary arms, and same thing here. I limited the piece in the sheet and had the flyout have a little bit more information. Okay. Yeah. And there's the Thri-kreen Telepathy. Oh, sorry. Next is Sleepless Revitalization. Again, this is another one that's really just text-based. It's just this text is going to show up in the sheet. There's not any options or modifiers or anything on this one. Just tells you what you can do when you're sleeping to get a full rest. And the Thri-kreen Telepathy. Now this was one that I needed to fix a typo on. So, okay. So I've got it both places. Okay. So this is where you have telepathy, and you can speak to others through a telepathic link. Again, it's all text-based, so there's no modifiers. Okay, and that is pretty much our. I'm going to refresh here just to make sure we've got our fixes here. Yep. That's pretty much the Thri-kreen. So let's go ahead and build a character. Okay, so make sure homebrew is turned on. And this is going to be toward the bottom. So, okay, so our ability score increases we've covered. Our languages we've covered. Speed and size we've covered. The Chameleon Carapace, dark vision, and the secondary arms, Sleepless Revitalization, and the Thri-kreen Telepathy. Okay, so we'll go ahead and choose that. And again, this is one of those where I'm going to make sure we have a bonus. Going to give me a +2 bonus to Dex. And will give me a +1 to Wisdom. Alright, language. I am not sure on them. Let's just go Abyssal. So our creature type, we show that we're a monstrosity. Size, again, this is where you get that choice between small and medium. I'm going to choose small again. I chose medium last time and chose small on the Hadozee, so we'll keep that going. Walking speed is 30. Chameleon Carapace description. Dark vision, secondary arms, Sleepless Revitalization, and Thri-kreen Telepathy. Alright. As before, I'm going to choose a fighter, and I'm not going to choose any pieces because I don't want any of the fighter pieces to show through. The only thing that really would show through is a secondary win, and that's going to show up in class abilities, so we'll leave it at that. Here, if I wanted to change the ability score pieces here, I could do that. I'm going to do what I've done before, which is basically commoner scores. All right. So let's go ahead and look at our stuff here. So our speed is 30. If we click here, we see we have a walking speed of 30. Our size doesn't really come into play here. It will come into play as far as carrying capacity, I believe, but that's about it. Our ability scores show the +2 to Dex and the +1 to Wisdom. Our languages show Abyssal and Common are coming from Thri-kreen. You see our armor class is 14, and that's our 10 natural armor, our +1 dexterity from our +1, and our 3 unarmored bonus from Chameleon Carapace. Dark vision, we see dark vision of 60 feet. Our secondary arms, Sleepless Revitalization and Thri-kreen Telepathy, really don't come into play as far as anything goes there. The Chameleon Carapace does have one other piece, and that is this advantage stealth. And if I highlight over the top and I click here, it does say advantage if carapace color matches surroundings, which is what I had typed in. So you might get advantage if your color matches. And again, in that feature, which we can take a look at. So let's just go down the list. We've got our ability score increase. We've got our language that we chose. You're a monstrosity. Now, most of the time, I don't call out the creature type in the character sheet, but because it's different to not be a humanoid, I'm calling that out. And so I've added that to the sheet just to show, hey, you're a monstrosity. You chose small for your size. So Chameleon Carapace down here, again, here's that calculation we were talking about of 13 plus the Dex modifier. And as an action, you can change the color. So that's the key point there. If your character uses an action, then they can stealth. Okay, so dark vision, secondary arms, and I didn't call out the exceptions, but if you click here, you can see the bullet points, what the exceptions are. And the Sleepless Revitalization and the Thri-kreen Telepathy. Okay, let's go ahead and full screen this. Go to Features, Racial Traits. So here we go. This is your full sheet. Again, if you want to click on to see why you have advantage there, or your languages, your armor class. That is basically the Thri-kreen. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. If you like what I'm doing here, please give the video a like. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And that's pretty much it for all of this would be the last one out of the UA builds for homebrew builds and for the Travelers of the Multiverse. So enjoy and have a great day. Thank you very much.